Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. I think I should lower this down a little bit. Just so it's not that loud. Another blast uncommon chest. Hold up. Let me get that. Blasted silver pants. Blasted power. Oh my god, no way! Oh! Oh! Oh shit! I just got a blasted power amulet from my chest. Take this, fuck ass wolf. Boom! Alright. Now, despite the topic of this video, that was a pretty great intro. I mean, to be fair, the topic of this video isn't, like, supposed to be extremely negative. But, it's just, like, some stuff that I feel. So, as, everybody knows in the Arcane Odyssey community, full release came out, which is sick, right? I am glad that this game has fully released, and we're mostly going to be getting story updates, and mostly just, like, actual, like, content updates besides, like, balance changes and such. However, I do have one thing that I would like to talk about, and hear me out. Hybrid builds. Hybrid builds are a really cool idea, right? And I say that purposely, with idea. My reason being is that you would think that hybrid builds, right, besides having the infusions and stuff like that, would be really cool because you can unlock your skills and stuff like that. Say like you're a warlock, you could have some magic abilities, like scrolls that you could get along with your fighting style and stuff like that. Like you could get a bit of both. But as it turns out, you can't. And reason being is that the levels keep getting higher, right? What I've noticed is that when I used to play this game a lot in early access, and they started doing the whole, like, scrolls for extra, like, for exclusive abilities, they would have a level requirement that was just out of reach for hybrid builds and or savants, right? And I'd be like, oh, okay, that's fine at the level that they're at. But maybe next update, whenever we get a couple more levels added, I'll be able to use that ability. But they keep raising the bar, right? And inherently that isn't, like, bad. Like, I understand for, like, some abilities should be exclusive. But hybrid builds don't really get that exclusivity, right? Now, hybrid builds are cool, right? Don't get me wrong. But I wish that I could use some abilities that other classes have, that hybrid builds don't get, right? Because you can invest more in, say, you're a conjurer, into weapons and stuff like that. Right, you can invest more into weapons and get some of the weapon abilities that you want. But at that point, you're not really getting anything too crazy, right? You're just getting, like, you're not getting the full kit, right? I feel like conjurers should either be able to at least grab some of those scroll abilities, right? Not all. Some of them should stay exclusive, right? But some. Either that, or hybrid builds should have their own exclusive abilities that they can also get to make them more pronounced, right? Like, with warlords, you get strength weapons, but you don't get that for literally any other hybrid class. Warlord is the only class that you actually get exclusive weapons. There's a level of exclusivity for that, for that class. But you don't have that for quite literally anything else. It is only warlords. And warlords also just happen to be like one of the stronger classes in the game. I mean, I have a warlord, gunpowder warlord. But you don't get any of that for any other, class. It is only warlords that have that, which it isn't bad. Like, I'm glad that warlords have that, but they're the only class that has ever had exclusive, like, a level of exclusivity to their items, right? I think that conjurers are supposed to get like arcanium weapons. I think that's supposed to be a thing, and I hope that when that does happen, oh fuck, I hope when that does happen, like, they will get like their own exclusive abilities along with it. Like, I feel like they should also get some exclusive spells. And, like, I think it would be cool if, like, they were spells that got casted from your weapon. I feel like that would be really cool. Right? You could have, like, your weapon abilities, but also have, like, special spells casted from your weapon. I think he's cooking me right now. That's my take on that, right? It's probably not the best take. Yeah, ouch. I need my fucking dodge reflex. But I mean, other than that, like, that's the only thing that, like, kind of keeps me away from, like, Conjurer and or Savant. Savant's another thing, too. Is, like, you can play Savant and get, like, and be able to use everything, but not really. You can only really do what you invest, and in that point, you should just play a hybrid build, because you don't really get access to as much as you would think, right? You would think, like, a Savant who has, access to the whole class, revolves around having access to everything, would be able to use everything. But no, that's not the case. What I do like about Savant is that, I don't know if they changed this, but your level then also is what scales your damage on everything, which I think is neat. But I also think that that should also be your barrier of entry for skills, would be your level. Because at the end of the day, there will still be spells that are outside of your level cap, right? That other classes can use because they fully invested, right? So you would still have that little bit of everything, right? Or pretty much everything for that matter, right? But all of those exclusive spells you don't get, right? You don't get any of those exclusive spells. You can't use whatever arcanium weapons will be, or strength. You could probably use strength weapons if you. Well, no, because you want to have the stats to use it. Anyways, it's confusing. Savant is very confusing to actually get and pull off. But that would be my idea for Savant, is that along with all of your skill damage scaling with level, it would also give you your skills. Your level would be what got you to your skills, right? I don't know. It's some food for thought. I would really love to play Conjurer, but I want access to the magic stuff, and I want access to the weapon skills, but I can't. I literally can't, right? And I wish that they either had something that was exclusive to them, right? A cool, like, distinct feature, right? Not just a warlord feature repackaged as magic, right? Because if they're getting arcanium weapons, I think that's just going to be basically warlord's equivalent of strength weapons. Not to, not to like put down Warlord. I love Warlord. Warlord's fun, right? But just giving them the same thing, but it's magic instead, I feel like doesn't make them special, right? In their own way. You know, yeah, it's with magic this time and not fighting, but that's it, right? They should also be able to like maybe cast spells from their thing or have like skills for their like weapons that would be like mostly magic based, right? Not just an infusion, but like actual like you know what I'm saying? And I also think Oracle and Spirit builds are really cool, but I don't know. They seem okay. They're not like they don't seem great to me. They seem cool. Maybe I just need to play one, but I think the Spirit like builds are really cool, but I don't know how I feel about them because I see combat with them, and I'm just like, it looks cool, but I don't know how like good it actually is, right? And whatnot. Although I do like the visuals and stuff like that. I might do like a shadow spirit build, because that would be cool. But yeah, I don't know. Food for thought. I think that the hybrid classes need a bit more, right? In that they should be able to have a little bit of both of their things, right? Like whether it be through like some scrolls, because like that's the thing is they've been keeping raising the levels requirement for those scrolls, right? The stat requirement. I think they've been going up. That's a little tough, right? Because I want to be able to use some of those spells, some of those fighting moves, but I can't because I'm a hybrid build, so I'm kind of like, I get the cool infusions and I get to use like, you know, my strength weapons and stuff like that, and that's cool, but I also want a little bit of those abilities. I don't want all of them. I don't think they should be allowed to have all of them, but some, or some exclusive ones only meant for hybrid builds. I feel like that would make them just more distinct, more stand out. And I feel like Savant should actually be able to use a little bit of everything as long as it's in their level. So like your level 175, I think is Savant. I think is max level now. So like only stuff that is level 175 and over and under savants can use, right? So I mean, you can't even hit the stat requirement for some of those things, right? So I feel like savant should be able to use skills that are level 175 and below, right? So they still can't get access to everything, but they can use a lot of their fundamentals pretty well. And I feel like that is how it should be, right? It definitely make more savant users popular, right? I don't see many savant users. Everybody's usually like a mage, warlord, or a warrior. I rarely ever see berserkers. I hardly ever see spirit users. You know what I'm saying? It's like some of these classes that are less picked should get a little bit more, right? Just a little bit. Nothing too crazy. They don't need to be overpowered. They don't need to become meta. But they certainly should be more distinct other than just the guy who puts magic on his weapon. You know, they should have something more. They should have something that draws people to it. Not just the fact that your magic is put on weapons, but the skills that they have or the weapons they can use. Because I think that's the draw for Warlord, is that you can use these exclusive weapons. And shit, I mean, they're cool. Like, I love using my dense lance of loyalty. I'm still trying to get the Colossal Greatsword, because that looks awesome. And that's my draw to Warlord. That's my point, is I want the big greatsword with the giant slash. You know what I'm saying? So you need to do that for the other classes, otherwise they're not going to be picked. And you've wasted all this time on these on these classes that nobody's ever going to use, because very few people are going to use, because there's nothing that pulls people to it. By making them more standoutish, right? By adding these, smaller features. Obviously, it's probably something difficult to code, right? I don't know. I'm not a game developer, right? But you need to bring in more people to them. You can't just leave them out to dry. They need to have something more. I feel like that. Anyways, that's my video. If you enjoyed my video, like, subscribe. I've been, MIA for like 4 weeks, 5 weeks now. Quite sad. I need to post more. But yeah, if you liked the video, like, subscribe, and, talk about it in the comments. Discuss. I feel like this is something that should be important for the game, as it is now officially full release. Obviously, the game's not finished, but it is full release, and yeah, I feel like this would just bring a bit more people to the game, A, and B, also make people invest in a variety of builds. Most of the builds are really samey because they have more content in them. The other hybrid builds need more content. Savant, I feel like, needs to have that level-based thing as just his kit, right? His damage scales off of his level, and so does his skills. He gains access to skills that are on his level, right? Because whenever the full game is done, there are going to be skills Savant cannot use inherently, but he should be able to use previous skills that are under his level cap. I feel like that'll flesh out Savant a lot more and make Savant have more access to things, right? Make Savant feel a bit more viable in a PvP setting, even though, like, I don't PvP myself, in a PvP setting, Savant would be more viable, right? Obviously, there are some chads out there who still play Savant and still are probably disgusting, but, that's not everybody. Not everybody has dedicated a bunch of time to Savant and has that ability, right? And at the end of the day, it gives those Savant users a lot more to work with, right? As Savant should have. With somebody who has their hand in everything, they should have a lot to work with. And whatnot, not just the ability to use fighting styles and weapons and magic, and then not do anything with one of those things or two of those things, right? Anyways, that's my video. I hope you enjoyed. And yeah, like, subscribe, comment, all of that, good shit. And yeah, I will see you some other time.